Unlike Max Beck, most of us are recognizably male or female within 3 months of conception. Over the next 6 months, hormones sculpt the brain, male or female. But the genitals can develop in one direction, the brain in another. The Dutch Institute of Brain Research. Here they are looking for underlying biological explanations for differences in sexual identity and orientation. Deep within the center of the brain, Dutch scientists found differences between male and female, heterosexual and homosexual. They then turned their attention to the transsexual brain.
He found in the brains of male to female transsexuals a female structure, and in the brain of female to male a male structure. So this explains that the brains of these transsexuals have not developed in agreement with their genitalia. They have all the characteristics of one sex, genetics, gonads, genitalia, hormones, but the brain has not followed that track.
These differences were discovered in clusters of nerve cells so tiny that no scanner could detect them, let alone measure them. The only way they could be studied was by microscopic examination of tiny slivers harvested from the brains of the dead. The Dutch research has made a huge contribution in helping to secure the rights of transsexuals under European law. To our Western thinking, if it's choice, it's the wrong choice and should be corrected. But if it's biology, it's fixed and must be respected. But one question remains unanswered. When did those brain changes occur? Because life's experiences and life's choices also shape the brain, which starts to respond and change long before we are born.
When you're in there, you're experiencing different circumstances, coldness and heat, and the noises that you hear when you're in the embryo. You'll actually hear things, and you'll probably remember some of them.
There we go.
And then when you're born, it isn't all over. Your brain is only half formed at that time. Anyone who's seen a tiny baby knows that this baby has a lot of growing to do.
Humans are born with very incompletely developed brains. Huge numbers of neural connections are made after birth, which means as a response to, in conversation with their environment and their experience. Even at the age of 5, children don't necessarily think their sex is fixed. Children still believe, until surprisingly late, I think, that it could change, that today they're a girl, but they might be something else tomorrow.
And then you grow up. You've got this body, it works, life is wonderful. Then puberty hits. Breasts develop, testes start secreting androgens again and making sperm. Your ovaries start to make eggs. Now you're talking about another critical period in which what you experience becomes crystallized in your brain as part of who you are. So for example, if you have a crush on, say, your gym teacher, and you're 13 and he's maybe 19, and you have a sexual experience with this individual. Well, is that sexual experience going to mean nothing? The experiences, I think, are absolutely key to understanding things like sexual orientation. And not only sexual orientation in terms of gay, straight, bi, but sexual orientation in terms of what you like, what you're attracted to.
Unquestionably, the majority identify as male or female and are attracted to the opposite sex. But with so many potential turning points on the road to sexual maturity, all humanity can't be expected to conform to this single standard. A more likely outcome is a huge variety of sexual identities and preferences.
And there are as many sexual orientations as there are faces. Because sexual orientation isn't only whether you're gay or straight or transgendered or other, and the fifth other. It's what you like, it's what you do, how often you do it, and with whom, and, you know, and to make it straight or gay is ridiculous. To make it straight bi or gay is less ridiculous. To make it straight bi, gay, transgendered is even less ridiculous. But you can imagine, how far does that go?
The whole world is not white, male, heterosexual, white, female, heterosexual. We live in a glorious world of endowments, and that is true socially, and it's true sexually.
One thing we have to remember, from Darwin to Kinsey to any great thinker about sexuality, is variation is the norm. Biology loves variation. Biology loves differences. Society hates it.
All creatures are united through descent. We share a common ancestry with birds, fishes, trees, and every living thing. So, what can nature tell us about ourselves?
There's no precedent in nature for the rigid assertion of a male-female binary of the sort that people are supposed to be obeying. Nature consists of rainbows within rainbows within rainbows, so that even if one does manufacture some category, once you start looking within the category, you find variation within that. And then you could make a subcategory, and you find variation still within that.
In the natural world, diversity is everywhere, from sex-changing fish to male seahorses that actually give birth. In some species, male and female are indistinguishable. In others, there are two or more distinct male or female genders. There are even species where intersexed bodies are in the majority. Some animals are promiscuous, others bond for life, and over 300 vertebrate species engage in homosexual behavior. But exclusive homosexuality is a human construct.
Animals don't do this knowing that they're going to reproduce. Animals do this because it feels good. And so, in fact, reproduction is slaved on the back of pleasure. Nature had to put it somewhere. And in Mother Nature's infinite wisdom, she put it with pleasure. Good thing if you're a male black widow who's going to be killed after your first sexual experience, or a grasshopper who's going to have your head eaten off after your first sexual experience. You've got to tie it to something that makes you unable to not do it. Okay? And pleasure is that system.